Well, welcome everybody again. Welcome to Second Chance Living with Dr. Karen, and I am Dr. Karen. Let me tell you, I love what I do. There is so much richness in the world with personal stories of life and hope and survival and, second chances, which, everybody knows me, knows that's what I always talk about is second chances. And today, I want to introduce you to a young lady whose story and mission is so powerful, and her ministry. Her ministry is, and it's going to be very inspiring to so many people in so many ways. We spoke about a demographic, and a lot of times I'm looking at people and talking to people 25 plus. Today, this is going to be something that you could share with your teenagers. You'll be able to share with others in your life that have gone through different things. But what I want to do is I want to read her bio. So April Mackay is a wife, mother, attorney, and business coach who empowers individuals with clarity and strategy and entrepreneurs to build authentic, legitimate, and thriving businesses. Having overcome obstacles like teenage parenthood and divorce, April defied the odds to become an attorney, proving that with determination, faith, and strategy, success is always within reach. She now uses her legal expertise and coaching skills to guide individuals and businesses in breaking barriers, reaching their goals, and creating lasting impact. And the thing is, we could go on, but I want you to welcome with me April Mackay. How are you, ma'am?
I am amazing. Thank you for having me.
Good. Thank you for speaking with me today. We have been trying to get this together for a while, and
yes,
the time now is perfect. So, I want to dive right in and I was thinking about your bio, and it's really, thank you so much for sending it to me and allowing me to read it, April, because I was looking and I had to read it like 2 or 3 times. and it's not like it's something that I've never seen. I have seen it. I've heard it. Your accomplishments are absolutely blessed. That is amazing what you've done. And so I'm going to get in and have some people listen to you talk about, if you don't mind, I would like to talk about what you went through, if you don't mind, as a single parent, a teenage parent. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to that for me?
Yes, absolutely. I love to share that part of my story because I found even back then that it is really inspirational to people who are going through, who had a plan that didn't quite work out, that went in another direction, But so I grew up in a single family household. Mm-hmm. Both of my parents were in the picture, but I was raised by my mother, and that story is all too familiar, right?
Yes.
But another thing about me though is I was born and raised in the church, so that's all I knew was church. That's what my mother raised me in, in holiness, and there were, in my little world view at the time, there was just a bunch of rules that we had to follow. That's kind of what I thought about it in my immaturity. And part of that immaturity led me into, not necessarily rebellion, more than curiosity. So I was curious, and I'm like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I go here? Why can't I? I was always a very independent, very free spirit type of person. And so I just felt like, why can't I just do what I want to do? And I found out the hard way why it is that I shouldn't do what I wanted to do. But it was just a situation where young teenage love, or so we thought, right? And, you know, I was not an experienced person, and neither was he really. But we made lots of mistakes. And as a result of our immaturity, we had a child. And I remember the time where when I first found out I was pregnant, and I think the only thing I could think of was, my mom is going to be so disappointed. And when I told her that I was pregnant, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, and it was also one of the hardest things I've ever had to witness, because I saw my mom cry for the first time. She had an idea of me, of what I would be and who I would be, and I think everybody around me, they knew I was smart, and they knew I was going places. You know, I was in all the gifted and talented programs and all of the things, and here I am making the biggest mistake of my life. So they thought, right?
So they thought, exactly.
So they thought, exactly. And so I learned a very valuable lesson, which I hold to this day, that no matter how well you're doing, no matter how bad you're doing, people will always have something to say about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. and you know what? And the thing about it, I'm going to let you finish. Yeah. That is the thing that we always have to remember, because I was talking to somebody about people, and I said, you know, if you do good, there's somebody over there is not going to like you. If you do bad, somebody's going to talk about you, and the people that liked you on the good side is going to be happy you failed. It's always somewhere in between. And when you talk about holiness and having to tell your mother, that is one of the hardest things that I have found. It happened to me, and it happens to so many people. They're more afraid of what their parent is going to say to them or feel than they are of what actually happened.
Yes.
And you know, and I'm gonna let you get back, but I'm sure you heard, like I did, and you were in holiness church, so I know you heard. You heard just don't.
Yes.
With no reasons.
No reason, no true understanding. It's just like
everybody
obey.
Saying everybody don't have sex. Okay.
Yes.
And then and then it's silent. It's crickets. It's like, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. April, go ahead. I just had to just say that with you. I'm like going, oh, yes, everybody has had to deal with that, especially.
Because it's so true.
It
and
is.
The thing is, it carries with us in adulthood. And so that's why I make it a point to make a note and to let people know, like, no matter what you do, people are going to have something to say. And the reason why that's so important is because oftentimes when we are charged to do something, when we have a vision about something, when God has given us instructions about something, we are often so afraid to do it. And the thing is, we walk into that fear not placed upon ourselves or not in and of ourselves, but it's the fear of what other people will think. It's the fear of how other people will respond or not respond. Will I be liked? Will they accept me? And so we walk carefully at the thought of disappointing other people.
Yes. And like you said, it comes from your childhood.
Yes, exactly.
Carries right through. Yeah.
Exactly. So I had to remember in those moments of fear, in those moments of doubt, in those moments of people pleasing, I had to remember, you know what, girl, they talked about you when you did really well. They had something to say, or, but she thinks she all of that, and or whatever else they had to say. And then they talked about you when you were not doing well. And in either case, it didn't change the situation. It didn't change who you are. What they had to say did not change your assignment.
Yes, for sure.
So I think that that's what we always have to remember, and that's one of the things that's always lingered in the back of my mind, and that has brought me out of this people-pleasing point. So now when I move forward, I don't do it at the thought of what other people are going to think of me.
Yeah. And how did you feel yourself when you broke that off of yourself? Like, what was that motivating push that made you leave that in your past?
Oh, that's such a good question. I don't know if I can pinpoint a specific moment, but I do believe that it was a series of experiences. So as I was going through single parenthood, I had to rely on the government to help me, get through that. And meanwhile, staying with my mom, and I did that for some time, and until a couple years after that, I actually got pregnant again, and I ended up marrying my stepchild's father. And so but here it is, me still making decisions in ignorance and in pride and in, you know what I mean? But making those decisions, trying to really come to or understand my own identity. I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know really who I was, and I allowed for my child's father to put on me their opinion. So, oh, you love me? Oh, you care for me? Okay, great, and then we were friends and, all the things. But as I grew, and I'm sure we'll talk about this too, but when I got divorced, later years down the line, I had gotten a divorce and I was a single mom again. Then I had people saying, well, who's going to help you with, and you have 4 children now. Who's going to help you with that? So again,
life is over. Life is over.
Yes,
right.
Life is you won't achieve the things I thought you would achieve.
Right.
And so
exactly.
But just the sheer fact of me being able to push forward to, and show that whatever they said was incorrect, and just it was experiences that trained me to know that it does not matter what people say. It matters what I say. It matters what God says about me.
Right, and that's it. That's it there. And if people don't understand, to understand who you are in God, a lot of times
that's right.
There's so many layers that have to be pulled back. Religion has to be pulled back.
Yes.
Negativity around you, all that, so you could allow the spirit realm to work in your life. And we were talking about before people being around you and not speaking positive things into your life. And I remember when I had my children, I have twins, I had them alone, and it was good people around me that helped me, but there was enough people to tell me things or look at me that let me know they were embarrassed or ashamed, and they weren't even the parent. They're out of town uncle or something.
Yes.
And I remember it, April. I remember every time they looked at me funny, every time. But now my children who are adults is everybody's favorite. And you want to go back and say, do you remember what you said to me?
Yes.
So, we were talking about that. How does it feel? We won't necessarily say who, but when you have family members who don't give you encouragement, there's a lot of people listening that know there's people in their life that is just not speaking anything positive into their life.
Yes, and you know what? Here's another major life lesson that I learned about that. There was this book that I read a while ago called The 4 Agreements. Now, I'm not promoting the book. I don't necessarily recommend the book because of some of the other things that's in it, but there was one particular idea that I took from that book and ran with it because it literally changed my life. It shifted how I thought about those kind of situations. And the purpose of this book is to talk about the 4 agreements that we should make with ourselves in order to succeed or, in order to live a good life or what have you. One of the agreements that we should make with ourselves is that we should never take anything personal. And when you hear that, it's like, okay, really, what does that mean? Well, it talked about how everybody has their own experiences in life. Everybody has grown up a certain way, whether it be my family members, whether it be friends or whoever who's around me, they come with their own set of traumas. They come with their own set of experiences. They come with their own set of rules that are shaped according to their own experiences, right? So when they look at me and they say horrible things or they say things out of fear because they're really fearful for themselves, not necessarily for you. When they say those things, it is a true reflection of them, not of you.
Right. Hey, wow.
And so you cannot take what they say personal because it's really not to you. They're speaking to themselves.
Yeah. And it goes back to us thinking about caring what other people think or say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to constantly think about, like, if somebody came and they just were really evil and you had done nothing wrong to them, you had done nothing, that does not, let me preface this. It does not absolve you of your personal accountability and responsibility to be a good human, okay, when I say don't take things personal. Right. But when you have checked yourself and you found no error in you, there was no cause of your own, then you have to understand that that person has had an experience that you just haven't had. Somebody could speak so rudely to you, one day, and it will feel personal because they could be calling you all kind of names or what have you. But you don't know what that person went through that day. You don't know what triggered them that day. And it's not necessarily your job to figure it out, but it is your responsibility to make sure that whatever they have going on does not infiltrate your space and what you're thinking and how you feel.
And that's good. That's good, April. Yeah. That's really good. And, and I tell people to speak to that you said, that when I have hosted healing therapy, and I tell people, when you're expecting all of your love, joy, and happiness to always come from another person, you're putting too much on them. You're putting too much on yourself, because as soon as they need you, you're not going to show up, and you're messed up because you went to them. April, I have a funny story. I called someone one day and said, it's years ago, I said, I don't feel good. Mentally, I just don't feel good. Emotionally, sometimes I just feel like I just want to, commit suicide. This person said to me, join the club, girl, because so-and-so. So, hey, I ended up counseling her. April, I ended up counseling her. I called her for help. Wow. So, and we can't do it. It's just, you never know. Like you said, you never know what a person has actually gone through. So, your story. So, you have developed all this into a wonderful area, and I'm going to talk a little bit about your business. And I want to let everybody know listening that April and I'm going to get with her about us hosting a roundtable for business owners that we could do virtually. And that way we can have people around the country and the people that we even know in other countries. So I was thinking about this, and I said, you have a dynamic ministry, and what you speak, I can tell that you believe it, and it's in you. You motivate and inspire people every year to set a goal. And what was the goal for this year, and why did you begin this?
Oh yes, that's an interesting thing. So you know how every year, people have their New Year's resolutions, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like we do, we say, oh, we're going to lose weight or we're going to do whatever, but as everybody has experienced it, when you don't have the willpower or the discipline or what have you, you end up fizzling out at the top of the year.
Mhm.
So what I started to do instead, I started to understand that whatever we're doing or promising to do for ourselves should not be a temporary thing. It shouldn't be like, here's the one goal and then once I'm done with it, then that's it. I mean, goals are great. I love to set goals and to accomplish them, but instead of doing a New Year's resolution, what I challenge people to do is to have a word or a phrase that carries them through that next season. And so, as an example, so this year, I actually have a few words for this year. It was systemize and focus, and then the other word, cause that's to me that's like a joint thing, So systemize or systematize, however you want to say it, and focus. For me, that meant organization and just kind of being clear and being focused on, on the task at hand. But one of the big words that I used this year was visibility. And so I ultimately, my year was surrounded by those themes. So in everything that I did, I wanted to be visible, meaning I believe that God was calling me from out of, behind the internet, right?
Yeah.
Just and hiding, out of hiding. Okay. And so he's like, you have to be visible. So I was very purposeful about, as an example, doing this interview. And as another example, I did, workshops, and I actually did in-person events and things of that nature. And so that was sort of my way of being visible. I also host a Bible study every week. So just really coming out of hiding and making sure that I'm showing up in the spaces where God has me. And so even with the systematized and focused words, that applied directly in my life and in my business. So it's like, okay, what things do I need to make sure that I have some structure around? I want my life to be automated. I have enough that I need to be worried about, right? And so I wanted to make sure that the things that I can control, that they are controlled. And I want to stay on task. And so I put systems in place that helped me to, let's say, respond to my clients quicker, to understand the flow of my, beginning to end when I'm offering services, and so whether that means you reading, books about whatever your theme or your word is, whether that means taking a class or what have you, but the goal is for you to implement and to keep that theme that you have set at the top of the year. It needs to apply to everything that you do. Okay.
So let me ask you this question. I got a good one for you.
Okay.
If you have, we have somebody listening, and right now they're saying, okay, systems sound good, and I can kind of focus. I got a lot going on, but I really am not doing anything. I'm home every day, and I have 3 children. I basically get them up for school, bring them home, do this. I have the same routine every day. So how am I able to focus on anything other than what I'm doing at home?
So let me clarify. Those were my words or my themes. I would charge you to come up with your word or your theme for the year. So in a case like that where someone has, maybe they are a stay-at-home mom, the question is, is that where you always want to be? And it could very well be, and there's nothing wrong with that. But here's what I believe. I believe that as long as we have breath in our bodies, there's always another level that we can go to. So even in your position as a stay-at-home mom, as a house manager, right, as the apostle of your home, even in that position, you can always find ways to get better, to do better, to create an environment, because your whole job is to create an environment for the people that you love. So you can't tell me there's not one place or one thing in your environment that you don't want to change or get better in.
Absolutely.
So I would just, so if that area, as an example, is, okay, yes, I have a routine, but maybe I'm not as organized, or maybe I'm not as disciplined. So like when my kids go away to school, my time is just scattered because I don't have discipline in doing something. Maybe I should be working out. Maybe I should be, creating lesson plans for my children. Maybe I should be learning how to cook better, for the house. It could be anything, but if I don't have discipline, maybe my word for that year should be discipline.
Right,
so now
exactly.
you're now consciously thinking about, in every area of my life, how can I be disciplined?
Exactly.
And you're working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's good, because everybody has to know, no matter what and that goes back to people, what they think people will see them as. A lot of people live in the lie that somebody else said about them or put on them. You're never going to be nothing, so I'm just going to sit here and be nothing because none of you believe I am anyway.
Right.
And a lot of people live in that, and that's good. So everyone should come up with a word, and for the year. I came up with a word for my new year, which was freedom. And I wanted freedom. Yeah, I wanted freedom in the things that I thought about, my emotions, different things. But let me tell you this, April, words come with consequences. They have power. And every word you challenge yourself in, everybody has to hear. It won't be easy. You got to push through it. Listen, that word there, I have seen so much going on this year, I can't even believe it. But I stayed true to my word, and I said, nope, I'm not going to do it. Whatever, I got to do to get over it. Yeah. You know what? I have so enjoyed talking to you, and I know we have a lot more that we can get to. I want to tell us a little bit about your business, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to talk more about it. But so you went to school, you became an attorney.
Yes.
And you did that as a single mom?
No. Well, let's say partly yes, partly no.
Okay.
So on that journey, I got divorced after 10 and a half years of my first marriage.
Okay. And
we got married very young. I was 20 years old. And so by the time I got divorced, I was 30. And from that experience, that's at the point I was a single mother of 4. And while I was in that position, I was working at a cell phone company, and I was working in like a supervisory position. And I thought to myself, I was like, I don't want to be working here for the rest of my life. Like, it's got to be something better than this.
Right. Right.
It was good money at the time. It helped me do what I needed to do. But I knew that in order for me to go farther, I'd have to go back to school. At that point, I had only taken a few college courses. I was not done. And so what happened was I enrolled in school, went to school, and I just pushed through. And I got my 4-year degree 16 years out of me coming out of high school.
Listen, you got it though.
But I got it. And so I got my 4-year degree, and then once I got my degree, and it was in psychology, once I got my degree in psychology, I thought, okay, how can I use this but not necessarily, have patience or, like talk to people and being stuck in an office all day. What can I do? How can I be my greatest and highest self, And so I was Googling. I was literally Googling. I had never desired to be an attorney. And a lot of that, I think, came from, again, fear. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Did I know what to do or how to do it? But as I kept researching, for whatever reason, law kept coming up. And at this point, again, I was still single at this point. But when I decided to go to law school, let's see, what year was that? It was 2012. So by that time, I had gotten remarried. Okay. So, the I guess the new man that folks thought that I couldn't have and, wasn't going to get because I had 4 children.
Poor people. Oh my
the Lord
goodness.
blessed me mightily, and I added 2 more. So we are a blended family of 6, 3 boys, 3 girls. And so, so I was blessed enough to, so by the time I went to law school, praise God, I was married at that time. And so at this time we had 5 children living in the home with us. So while I'm going to law school, I was working. It was just a lot. All the kids were in different activities. It was a lot. But I went to law school all year round for 3 years, and I completed it. I graduated cum laude, and God really, really blessed me and put me in a position to be where I am right now. For
Wonderful.
Sure. Nothing but
messed around and graduated with some cooms.
Yes.
By your name. You remember we used to hear that when we were younger. We was like, people would say they graduated this and this and this. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
With
April,
honors.
That is so wonderful.
Yes.
With honors. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That is such a blessing. So you are working with business and consulting and helping people. Yes. And I do know that from who you are and as positive as you are, a person that is inspired to want to work in business but maybe feel like they can't. I meet a lot of people that have different business ideas. Yes. And, again, people told them, well, I have somebody that called me about wanting to write a book, and they said, well, I never did it because my mom said I can't read.
Wow.
And that was like real. I was like, oh, okay. It just really kind of dumbfounded me, but I know a lot of people want to have a business. And the number one thing, the first thing, what would you say if a person said they want to have a business? What is the top 3 things that you would say they need to do first?
Absolutely. The first thing you have to do is believe that you can do it. That's just the first and foremost. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people come with these preconceived notions that business is so hard. It's so hard, which it is in a sense. It is challenging, but it's not hard to start a business. It's not hard to do what it is that you were put on this earth to do, to what you were created or gifted to do. But practically, what you would need to do in order, and this is just in a nutshell, this is not legal advice. Let me put a disclaimer there, okay? Right. But practically, what you want to do, you want to get an LLC, set up an LLC or a corporation. I always prefer LLCs, but it really does depend on the business type, okay? But I prefer the LLC because it's the easiest structure, it's the most flexible structure, and it offers you liability. It saves you from personal liability. Let me put it that way. When you set up, if you're doing business, no matter what you're doing, the whole purpose of having a LLC or a limited liability company is to shield your personal assets from liability. Okay, so if someone sues you, they can't sue you personally. So set up an LLC, And then you get an EIN, which is an employer identification number. It is free, okay? You don't necessarily have to pay anybody to do that for you. Go to irs.gov and get you an EIN after you set up your LLC with your state. But the most important thing that someone should do right now when starting a business is to get a business bank account. So you have your LLC, you take your LLC paperwork and your EIN paperwork and go to your favorite bank, okay, and open up a business bank account, and you keep those monies separate. This is your start of separating yourself as an individual from your company. A lot of people, what I see is people doing business from their personal bank accounts, and if you're doing that, you're commingling your funds, and now whoever sues you would have a right to touch your personal assets because of that.
Wow.
So even if you're the only person in your LLC or the only member of your LLC, you want to make sure you're separating yourself from that by keeping those things separate.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. Well, we're going to go into more when we have our roundtable.
Yes. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be wonderful. We're going to do that really quick. Before we go, I want you to just speak a word of wisdom to those that are listening that feel like they have lost their opportunity to live in their second chance. What would you say to someone who feels like nothing in life is working? I had so many things I wanted to do and I didn't do. And why should I start again? Because it's never going to work.
Yes, that's so great. So first of all, I would go back to what I said earlier and say, as long as you have breath in your body, there's always another level you can go to. There's always a chance to do what it is that you're called to do. But I would challenge that person, I would challenge you all to really seek to understand your identity in Christ, first and foremost. There is no way around that. You have to know what God's assignment is for you. A lot of times we put assignments on ourselves based off of what other people are saying. And even if it's flipped on the opposite side, so if somebody says, well, you can't do this or you can't be this, then we go after those things because they said that we couldn't. But maybe that's not even the thing that you should be doing in the first place. So you have to really seek and pray and get understanding about what your specific assignment is. What I've been doing right now is I've been incorporating this idea of identity in as an individual and as your business. You have to have an identity because He gave us all fingerprints for a reason. He gave us all different fingerprints for a reason. So once you identify what it is that you're called to do, the way that you overcome fear, and I'll tell you this story really quickly as we end. I hope I have an opportunity to share it in detail later with you. But in 2011, I met, it was 2012. I met Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
A year before that, I had a dream that I would meet her and that I had a chance to ask her a question. In my dream, I didn't know what to ask her, and I woke up crying because it felt so real. Well, fast forward a year later in 2012, it actually happened, and it happened really much like in my dream, It almost mirrored my dream. So I had this opportunity, and I asked her this question. I said, I will be ready with my question when I meet her. I had my question ready. This was right before I went to law school. I said, Oprah, how do you overcome fear when you're trying to walk in purpose? And I asked her that question because I realized that who she has become, this multi-billionaire, who has this real estate conglomerate, this media, she's a media mogul, all of these things that she has amassed coming from poverty. And so I'm like,
Right.
there had to have been some fears because nobody taught you that these things were possible. Matter of fact, they talked about you when you were trying to become a news anchor, when you were trying to be on TV. They called her ugly. They said she was fat. They said all of these different things. So in my mind, how did you overcome that fear? And she said it simply. She said, first thing is it's great that you know that that's what it is. She said, but you have to surrender. She said, you have to surrender to something that's greater than yourself. And she said, the reason why you're fearful is because you're trusting in yourself. And I'm like, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because all this time I had been trying to prove things. I had been trying to do things. I had been putting my own effort forward. But it wasn't until I surrendered and said, you know what, God, you got to take this because I can't bear this burden anymore. And once I handed it over to him, everything changed.
Wow.
So
That is rich. Wow. Well, listen, it has been so wonderful to have a chance to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to what we can do moving forward. It's getting into a good season to get some in-person stuff going on, some virtual stuff, and just having some really, really great roundtables. Do you have some contact? I'm going to add it into the description of this interview, but do you have a contact email? You can share your Instagram, whatever you like to share. You can do that now before we end.
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at April McKie. That's APRILMCKIE. You can also email me at contact@aprilmckie.com. And that's if you just have a question, if you want to get some life or business coaching. But you can also go to my website, ALMlegacy.com. And that's my legal website, but you can get to me through there. I specialize, again, in business law, transactional work, and trademarks particularly. So that is really what my expertise is in trademarks. So, so reach out any way you can, and I am happy to have a consultation with you, and let's just see how I can help you.
Wonderful. This has been so great. Sometimes you just don't want to let it go, but I have to. So thank you so much again for being a part, April. I really do appreciate it. And for all of you who have listened, go back and listen again. I know you heard some rich, dynamic words coming out of this young lady's mouth. Be sure to share this with other ladies and men, because men need to know how teenagers feel, how parents feel, everyone. So again, this has been April McKie, and this is Dr. Karen saying goodbye. And always remember that every day you live is a second chance at life.